Alright, horror fans, I know you're looking for Scream 6 reviews, but yeah, I'm a little behind, so here's my Scream 5 review. Yeah, I recently saw this, finally, and yeah, so here it is. As usual, we'll start off with the IMDb plot, and then we will get to how many pools of blood I gave it. 25 years after a streak of brutal murders shocked the quiet town of Woodsboro, California, a new killer dons the Ghostface mask and begins targeting a group of teenagers to resurrect secrets from the town's deadly past. Yes, here we go once again. Halloween didn't die, even though they say they die, and Scream doesn't die either, because now here it comes, and as I just mentioned, here comes part 6. So, yeah, it's just gonna keep coming at you. Every time there's a remake or reboot or just sequel, long-awaited sequel, whatever you want to call this. I always have to do a little rant, and as usual, I'll do it again. Yeah, when this was first, like I said, we're in Scream 6, but going back to Scream 5 here, yeah, when they kind of put this out there, I'm like, yeah, why? Why are we going to do this? Do we have to? But yes, we do, because we bring back everything, and here we are. So that's kind of, I just complain about that because that's kind of the mindset, I go into watching this. But then when I watch it, I try to give it a fair view. If I like it, I like it. I don't like it, I don't like it. I would say for the most part, a lot of these remakes, long-awaited sequels or whatever, I just find them, do we really need them at the end of the day? No. Is it good for some horror fans? Yes. Is it good for a new generation of horror fans? Definitely. For the old school horror fans, it kind of depends. Some people like it. Some people like me are a little annoyed by it. As much as we want to see more Freddy, more Jason, more Leatherface, and blah, 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 there's also the you're kind of killing it by bringing it back because you're just not the same, one way or the other. But lots of things to debate about that. But let's get into this movie. So, of course, this is a kind of weird introduction because you're bringing in some old characters, some familiar faces, and you're mixing them with a whole bunch of new faces, and trying to make it work. So, we've kind of seen this in some of the other horror remakes and so forth. And we've also seen this in, one example that just comes to mind, and probably stole it from somebody else, not my idea, but it's kind of like Star Wars, the latest ones, the latest trilogy, whatever. You have a bunch of new characters and so forth, but then you also have the old school characters. And this one kind of, this is Scream 5, so I'm not going to give away the killers, but slight spoiler alert, I guess, if you want to say. We'll talk about a few things, but I won't give away the killers. But like in kind of the Star Wars fashion, they bring back some of the old school characters and then proceed to kill them all. So here you kind of have the same kind of formula. Let's bring back some old school characters and ring the bell and kill them off. So that's kind of in the story. So how do you get all these characters together and blah blah? So this one kind of follows, I believe, Tara and Sam, and they're two sisters, and one's younger than the other. And Ghostface kind of starts the movie in Scream fashion. You got to have this big production at the beginning of the movie to show that he's there and so forth and terrorize somebody. And we have that here, and it's kind of very familiar to the original Scream movie. And you kind of have that setting, and it's not a bad scene. But the young sister here survives, and then that kind of sets the stage of, okay, Ghostface is now going to terrorize this young girl and her older sister. They are the main targets. But of course, everybody around them is fair game. Other friends are going to get killed along the way, and you're going to get an introduction to many of friends, and then long and behold, you're going to get Sydney and Dewey and oh damn, what is her name? and Gail to come back into the story as far as the old school characters are involved here. So that's going to be the mix here, and then it's going to be the game of, can you figure out who Ghostface is, or we should say, who are the Ghost Faces, because typically it is more than one. And when I say things like typically, that's just kind of, why do we have to do this again? So much credit to the first Scream, because it kind of shocked the world there with two killers. Nobody really expected it, and along with a lot of other good things going on there. But then they repeated the similar formula in 2, 3, and then 4. So it's like, the formula is there. We know what Scream is. Do we really have to do this again? And yeah, we do. Again, I'll say it. Yeah, we do, because here we are, a very similar formula. Let's bring some old people in. Let's bring some new people in, and let's could one of the old characters now be the killer? We're more likely than one of these new people going to be the characters. Is it the two sisters? Is it one of these friends? And along the way they do the whole thing where everybody's an expert on horror movies, how to survive, what you do. Don't say things like, I'll be back, don't go in the basement, don't go in the attic, don't go here. The killer's going to do this, don't do this, or the killer's going to get you. And we go through all those things. And again, credits to the original Scream, very, very nicely done, and to kind of play on those things. And then in the other Screams, you kind of play on them too. But we continue to play on them, so now here we are. It wasn't painful. Like I thought they made decent use of it. I think that at times they realized even more that the audience is not only familiar with these horror themes, tropes, whatever you want to call them, but also the whole Scream thing. So they kind of know in some circumstances that the audience is even going to expect that they're already going to talk about this. So that, they kind of make light of it, and the characters make light of it, because they have that fun back and forth. Well, of course, I said don't come back, so now I'm doomed, and then you'll see whether they come back or not, or whatever, and kind of things like that. So there's a little bit of playing with the audience there. If they did something, are they really going to die? Are they not going to die? Are they going to hold true to whatever it is that's going on and said, and back and forth. So it's okay. Like it's fine. They did a decent job of it, but again, it's just a lot of rehash. I mean, we've seen it, we've done it. We see those horror movies that are spoofs of horror themes. Take a Scare Package, which that I love. Playing off these common themes of horror, so it. So this kind of thing, we know as horror fans, we know. Now if you're not an big horror fan and you watch this and you see things like this, you may take that in a different way. You may enjoy that. You may not know all of the rules of horror and horror movies and so forth, so it might be a little more entertaining to you. But as a horror fan, and then as someone who's seen all the other Screams and some of these other movies you see, it's kind of like, okay, we know, yes, okay, so this person's on the couch watching, so we know they're going to say this, and we've seen the other Screams, so we know that, and so forth. So it's like, again, why do we have to go through this exercise? Ghostface and the killers, I would say I got one right. Pretty impressive for me. I got one right. The other one, not that I want to go back and watch it, but I really didn't see that character. Like didn't really remember where that character came from and that person's involvement where they came. So when that person was revealed, I was like, okay, where was this person earlier? Like I don't know. Like I kind of missed that person along the line. So whereas you watch the first original the Scream, both those characters are there, bright as day. They're there. And when they get revealed, whatever. Maybe I missed it. Maybe that character just wasn't important in my mind. I will just say they do a decent job of keeping your attention on a certain other character, and I don't want to give that part away, but they play off two characters and kind of give you a reason to kind of think, is one of them really the killer, or how much are they involved? How much do they know? But at the end of the day, they're just not. And so one of them is fairly obvious, fairly obvious as far as going, if you think about some of the other Screams, if you think about horror movies in general, whatever, fairly obvious. It's just this other person, whatever. So like I said, if I ever watch the movie again, whatever, I will pay more attention to see, where that person's involvement is. Obviously, with two Ghostfaces, I always want to rewind the movie and say, where were each one of these at the time? Could it really be? I think there's one scene in particular when I'll say the old school person bites the big one here in this one, where you're kind of like, okay, well, that happened because there's two ghost faces. That happened because blah blah blah. They kind of explain it later on, and you're kind of like, okay, whatever, I'll give it to you there. But it's kind of one of those things where you really think of, you see a ghost face that kind of acts and be's the same the entire movie, but then when you get the reveal, you say, okay, well, which one was Ghostface at which time? And, like I said, they kind of reveal a little bit of that here. But then you're thinking, well, could that person have really done what they did? Or was that person the Ghostface when that happened? Because I don't think that person could have done that. And so forth. So you're going to play that game, whatever. But since you don't really truly know unless they tell you, it really doesn't matter. So it's really hard to kind of bitch about. I would say that, the deaths were pretty good, typical Ghostface fashion. Does a lot with the guns, and not the guns, the knife and so forth. I was thinking about the guns because the new one shows him with a gun. It's kind of surprising, but okay. Yeah, he does his job, does some work, is kind of brutal in some ways. A really good opening scene, like I said. And makes his appearances here and there. So not bad from the Ghostface point of view. Kind of chiming in on the part 6 that's coming out. He's the most ruthless, brutal Ghostface we've seen yet. We'll see about that. I think he's generally at times had some pretty good brutality to him. So we'll see. They make marks of that, and I would like to kind of straying away and teasing part 6 is to see a high kill count. I mean, if he's going to be the most brutal one, let's see a high kill count. Let's see it be the highest of the series yet. Bring it to me if that's the claims you're going to bring. So we'll see. But that's part 6, and I'll get to that in a couple of years as you see how late I am with this review. So like I said, I don't want to give away the killers. I don't really want to get into that. Like I said, figured one, didn't figure the other, blah, blah, blah. Can't really complain because I don't really remember where I saw the other one through the movie. I guess I'll leave that at that. I'll be honest and say, as much as I complained and bitched along the way through this review and about it and why, I didn't hate the movie. If you watched the my review of Halloween Ends or Dies or whatever the hell happened at the end of Halloween, the trilogy, the most recent one. I really bitched a lot about that movie and what they did there and everything there. Um, Coming into this and watching this, that really didn't get me excited for this movie. But I'll say that I came off more at peace than that series, or at least with that ending there. I didn't hate this movie. Like I said, it follows the similar formula and so forth. The acting is pretty good. We all know, what is her name here? I always get these people confused. Jenna Ortega, she's a hot name in horror now. Along with Mia Goth, they're probably two of the ones that are, setting the standard now in these horror movies, and shows and series and so forth. So, the acting's not bad. Of course, you got the old school people in there, so it's good seeing them interact, kind of dive back into their characters. It almost fails to say that you bring Sydney back here and you make a grand return, and then you can't get her to come back for part 6. So it's like, okay. It's like your grand scheme, goes downhill. I don't know if they, obviously things happen. People don't want to do movies because of XYZ and whatever. I was just kind of thinking of Jamie Lee and how they did Halloween. I mean, can you imagine they brought her back, did the first one, and then, have plans for a second and third, and then she's like, yeah, you know what, never mind, because of whatever reason. Then, it kind of goes down in flames. So you bring Sydney back for this one, and, maybe you didn't anticipate doing a part 6, or maybe you did, and whatever, and you didn't get that signed and sealed before, and now you're gonna do 6, and it's like, never mind. Knowing that she didn't come back she wasn't gonna come back for 6, would you have even bothered bringing her back for 5? Would you have even bothered bringing any old school people back for 5? Kind of interesting way to go here, but apparently, if you know anything about 6 and you watch 6, or at least the trailer, you haven't seen 5, you can kind of put some pieces together about what happened in 5. I wouldn't be surprised if certain other events happen in 6. And it's a horror movie thing. We'll see. And I'll leave it at that to see if you figured out what I was saying without saying it. But we'll see. I mean, and you never know. Maybe she makes a surprise appearance or somehow, some way. I don't think so, because it was pretty clear that she wasn't going to be in it. But like I said, you never know. Maybe she sets this one out and comes back in 7, and she's finally Ghostface. I mean, why not after all this time? But I don't know. I was just kind of spitballing here, thinking about that is how funny that would be if Jamie Lee was like, no, I'm just not going to do Halloween, whatever the second one, and then the third one. And then they're kind of left with, like, shit, where do we go now? But I guess, that puts the ball in these young actresses' roles, especially the characters Tara and Sarah, or Sam. And see, can they carry the franchise now? I mean, Ghostface is after them, and they're the new face, so now they're going to carry on. A lot of argument about the end of Halloween, all these comparisons to Halloween. At the end of Halloween, is this the kid that was in that? Is he like the new Michael Myers? Is he going to carry it on if Halloween never really died, if it comes back, or whatever the hell they have planned going forward? So whatever. Sorry if I've spoiled Halloween 3 for you, but whatever. It's spoiled before it even began. But yeah, these just random spitball questions, kind of mixing this in as a review and a commentary on Scream and where we go and remakes and all this stuff. But yeah, just interesting stuff going into part 6. Like I said, I will watch 6 at some point to see what happens, and do another review. I will probably start the review off by complaining more about why we have to have this, but it is what it is. at the end of the day, we all know it's all money, and not necessarily for the true love of horror. Although everybody behind the movie and these people, everybody says you love horror, but sometimes when you love horror, that doesn't mean you just bring it back for the money and the fandom and all this craziness and ruin it. Sometimes it's just would have been better just leave it as it is. But yeah, okay. And with that, I guess I'll leave this review as it is. A lot of things mentioned, a lot of things to discuss and think about. Sorry again if you were looking for a Scream 6 review and got a Scream 5 review, but yeah, I am behind schedule big time. And I'll be doing another movie that I should have done a while ago after this one. So yeah, it's a little bit behind mixing in some reviews I should have done before, but just didn't get a chance to, and now. So, with that, I'm going to give it 3 pools of blood. Copping out to the middle here, that is out of 5. Like I said, I didn't hate it. If there were bigger issues in it that I really wanted to complain about, I definitely would have given it a lower score. But it followed the formula, was entertaining enough, gave you, kind of the vibes, some of those good vibes from the first one. Made me feel good that I at least got one out of the 2 killers, and Ghostface was Ghostface, and so forth. And as far as the old school people, they played their role, they had some fun, and the final scene was or the final, big major scene was a fun scene, was a good scene. Good seeing some of those characters and some of the things that were said and so forth, and that kind of mix there at the end. So maybe that's kind of what brought it home and made it okay. Again, is it necessary? Not really. But they're gonna follow the same formula, and I guess Ghostface is just easy because 2 assholes can pick up the mask and terrorize whoever for whatever reason. And, now they moved from California to New York. So, we can do it in a new town too. So, it's not as complicated as maybe bringing back a Michael, or Michael never dies and whatever, blah, blah, or Jason, because we've tried to kill Jason a million times and he just doesn't go away and whatever. So, 2 assholes can put on a mask and just kill whoever they want and know their horror knowledge along the way. So you just keep going on and on and on until people stop watching, and that's it. So with that, again, 3 pools of blood out of 5. horrorscorereviews.blogspot.com is where you can find all of my reviews, written and video. Of course, if you're just interested in watching me ramble on here, please subscribe, like, do all those things, get notifications and all the stuff that everybody wants you to do. If not, not a problem. Twitter, Facebook information down below as well. Like, follow, do all those things there as well. Reach out to me, talk about this movie, other horror movies. You watch Scream 6, you want a spoiler from me and tell me, feel free to. Not a big deal. Your thoughts on remakes and so forth, whatever, feel free to do there or down in the comments section. If you like remakes, don't like remakes, what you thought of this, clue me on, and no, well, don't do that because then you might spoil it for somebody else. Thoughts going into part 6, whatever, feel free to do that in the comment section. And if not, I guess I will catch you in the next review, horror fans.